The subject this morning, the headline is Don't Let Your Feelings Be Your CEO. CEO being basically the top emotional leader of your company. There's a lot of different directions to go with this if I can just get started on it. You know, our feelings so often tend to want to determine what we do, how much of it that we do, and how well we do anything. Our feelings love to be in control of all of that. Our feelings love to be in control of whether or not we get out of bed or not. Feelings say stay in bed. Your mind says it's time to get up. Feelings say don't do anything to better your health, and your mind says I've got to do these things. Your feelings say, but I don't feel like it today. And then far too often people say, well, I just didn't feel like it, and so I didn't. And when I hear them say that, I really can't say much. I just have to listen. But I'm thinking to myself at that moment that this person's feelings are his or her CEO yet. I know they're for me too at times. We're all human. But we must be aware that this happens. To be a stoic, we get to understand that our feelings desire to control everything that we do. That looks so good. I'd love to have that, whatever it is, food, whatever. It might be something you so don't want, but there's part of you that so desires it. Your feelings are like, God, that would feel so good if we could just have that. And so sometimes we respond to our feelings in a time of weakness, and not good. We get to be in control of our feelings. If we don't control our feelings will control us. And if they control us, our feelings do not have long-term vision. They only live for the moment. Let me repeat that. Our feelings do not have long-term vision. Our feelings live for the moment. They become our CEO for the moment. But your long-term vision comes through your mind trained in the subconscious so that you can stay the course and make good choices for the moment and not allow your feelings to control the choices you're making. Because if we allow our feelings to be in control of our choices, none of those choices will directly be connected to your long-term vision, won't be connected to being the lender and not the borrower. It won't be connected to any of those things. Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. You know, if we can start having control of our feelings, then and only then do we start having long-term positive outcomes in our life. It feels like people are working against us. And, if we take that and we abide by that feeling, we will have more and more evidence to back that up that that's true. We get to be careful. Whatever our feelings want us to believe, the subconscious will produce the evidence to back it up that that's true. That's why Solomon said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Understanding how our system actually works, how people tend to gravitate towards the things that their feelings would desire for them to do, and then the evidence backs it up, and before long they realize that this is true, when in essence it probably never was in the first place. It's just something that was created. We get to be careful. Our feelings, our feelings on themselves can't do anything. It's just our feelings when they convince the mind to change direction, to change the trajectory of your life. I was headed this direction, but it just didn't feel right. I had this guy tell me once, he'd done fairly well, but he had to grow himself more to continue serving and moving up. And he came back with, I just didn't feel right doing that. It just didn't feel right. I felt like I was, this thing. I can be successful. Now, he made sure to let me know. I can be successful as much as I want to, but it just, I just don't feel right. I just think it's better for me to have very little. Please help yourself. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not even going to try to convince you to not be that way. It's your business. Totally, 100%. Maybe it's true for you, but I'm going to challenge that it was mainly his feelings when he had to grow through another level. He had to let go of another layer of those blind spots, and it didn't feel good to release them. And so it just felt better to shrink back, and it always does. Always feels better to shrink back and go with the suggestion of your feelings than it does to go with a suggestion of what's right for you and your family in moving forward. You see, if you go with your feelings, you will oftentimes not make a phone call that you know you should make. You'll not make that next meeting that you know you should do. You'll not go to the construction site when you know you should. There's just, the list goes on of things that. And recently, I had to talk to a group of people, and in that particular setting, I wasn't interested in being there. Just so wasn't interested. I wanted to be there, but when I was there, it was like I wanted no part of it anymore. But that was all my feelings playing tricks on my mind and convincing me that it's not going to be the way I want it, and it's going to be bad, and it's not going to turn out well. And I had to override those feelings and continue and follow through. And some of it didn't go that well. Some of it didn't turn out as was expected or hoped for. But that's just the way it is. You know, some days we plan a picnic and it ends up raining. We have two choices. We can be very distraught, unhappy, disappointed. We can totally turn the whole thing into something sour, or we can find a way to maybe have it inside, or maybe just be grateful for the refreshing rain that's coming. Whatever it is, our feelings never have long-term interests in mind. Our feelings only live for the moment. They don't have a vision. Our feelings do not have a vision. Scripture says, for where there is no vision, the people perish. You know, if we surrender to our feelings long enough and they become the true CEO of our life becomes far more miserable. Even though it feels good for the moment, that feeling is here and gone. And then we have to create it again and again and again and again. But if we have a long-term vision and we work towards that, it won't feel good for the moment. It'll be painful. You'll be out of your comfort zone many cases in whatever it is that you're doing. It doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. But then long term, all of a sudden you realize you're starting to live the life you've dreamed about, you've imagined, you've wanted, you've always felt like was right for you. And you've always dreamed about it as a child, that you would have this home and you'd have opportunity and you'd be serving people and you'd be making a difference in the world. And all of a sudden you realize that's becoming real, it's becoming true. And that experience can't be compared to the short-term pleasures that our feelings want us to go after. That is true joy. That is true created outcome. That's the thing that all of us are grateful that we've made those good choices, hard choices, tough choices, choices of accountability, choices of commitment, choices of following through even when we had to do it in tears, choices that we just so would have liked to have not made, period. But we had no choice. We had to make them. We had to do something because we committed ourselves to a long-term vision. Don't let your feelings be your CEO. Your CEO will destroy you if you let your feelings be your CEO. But if you let your long-term vision be your CEO gets up and says, hey guys, listen, it's time to get up, time to go. We got a lot to do today. There's a lot that needs to be accomplished. I don't feel like it. I understand, but I don't care about your feelings. Get up. Let's go. Time to hit it. There's people waiting. There's opportunity out there. Things need to be done. Things need to be said. Work has to be accomplished. Business transactions need to be made. Phone calls have to be made. Meetings have to be done. Taking care of your body needs to be handled. Taking good nutrients. There's a lot that we have to do today. Get up. Let's move. Let's get it on. That's when your long-term vision becomes your CEO. Then you ask it, why, CEO? Why do we have to work so hard? He says, well, listen, you remember that long-term vision? Do you remember that being debt-free? Do you remember that thought of being the lender and not the borrower? Do you remember that thought of being able to take your family out on a boat that you own and you're not paying any interest on? Do you remember how you visualized how much fun it would be to have family time and not have to think about money? Not have to think about payments, not have to think about all those burdens that are burdens due to lack of finances. Do you remember all that? Yeah, I remember it all. Then get up. Let's go. That's when your long-term vision becomes your CEO. He gets you in the field. He gets you in the game. He gets you out of bed. He gets you on your push-ups. He gets you in whatever it is you need to do, taking your nutrition. He gets you in the realms of things that takes you to where you know you truly want to go, where you know you were promised that you could be, where all of a sudden you start realizing this is true. It's real. I'm starting to experience this. Then you'll stop and thank your new CEO, the CEO of your long-term vision, not the CEO of your feelings. Guys, make it a great day, and do me a favor, as always, remember, don't settle for less than who you are. May God bless you.